Hello, welcome to Rock the Crown. I am your host, Daia, and I am here with my beautiful ladies, Naima, Nafisa, and Nefertari. We welcome you all to another episode of Rock the Crown. We are in season 3, and we are so excited about today's topic. Today's topic is for the singles out there, single ladies and the single gentlemen. Today's topic is finding a mate, finding yourself. As we start the process of looking for a mate, this also helps us to further develop ourselves and to discover ourselves. Because as we are trying to determine what we are looking for and what we need in a mate, it helps us to better understand ourselves. So this evening, we're going to have a candid conversation about some of the experts say about the best ways to go about finding a mate. So I pulled this article from actually an Islamic website for Muslims, and so it talks about the 7 etiquettes of seeking a mate. So I'm just going to kind of go into these, and my queens will kind of, come in and contribute to the conversation. We're just going to talk about, some of our experiences in this, and also, what we found to be, helpful in this process of finding a mate, finding yourself. So I'm just going to kick right in, just jump right in. So I'll go ahead and start with the first piece of advice is to ask yourself, why am I getting married? So there's many different reasons for getting married. Some people get married, just because it's what everybody else is doing. Of course, some people are seeking true companionship. Some people are getting married because it's a religious obligation. So there's many, many different reasons, to get married. Some people are getting married the first time around, the second time around. So the purpose and the reason for marriage is different for everyone. But first, that is the first question that you want to ask yourself is, why am I getting married? And so, the advice that is given is that marriage for us as Muslim, it is a part of our faith. So we marry, to fulfill that religious obligation and also to start a family. Most times we get married to start a family. And there are those of us who have, been married before starting a family. So there goes that question again of why am I getting married? So Nafisa, you have something you wanted to contribute to that?
Well, the first thing I would like to say to that too, that I want a Crown Nation to keep in mind too, is that as we go throughout this discussion, you got to remember who you are. Like these different elements that we're going to talk about. If you are 20, you're going to view them a little bit different than if you're somebody who's 40 or 50 and this is your second or third time around. So where you are, your phase in life, a lot of times too, is going to be affected by these. So when you talk about why am I getting married, that's going to be a big issue too. I think us the second time around, we really think about it because number one, I'm not having any more kids. So that
Mm-hmm.
whole little family raising kids thing, that thing is over with. So
Right.
we know we're not doing that. So we just look at the different, but it is a top of mind thing. You got to keep on asking yourself, okay, so why am I getting married? So I just think that's a good place to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so as with anything that you do, you want to, check it and ask yourself, what are your intentions? Always set your intentions for marriage. And that helps you to decide, okay, is this the right marriage? Is this not the right marriage? So, in addition to that, you want to also ask yourself, what am I looking for in a spouse? You have to be really, really clear about what it is you're looking for in a spouse. A lot of times, as men and women, we can find someone and we can vibe really well together, right? Like they like the same kind of music, they eat the same type of food, they work out, so a lot of times we can gel in that way. But then if you go back to your intentions, oh, well, does this brother still want to have kids? Does this brother, is he business minded? So that's when you have to really understand what you're looking for in a mate so that you can know, okay, we vibing, but is this in line with my intentions? All right. Naima, you want to speak on that, sister?
Yeah, so something to think about when you're asking yourself, what do I want in a mate? I think that people have to kind of understand where they're at. And if those qualities and or criterion are kind of futuristic or lifetime type qualities. So you may be in your 20s and it's okay to want someone who cuddles with you and goes to the park and all of these different things. But then when you get in your 30s, you're like, I need a little bit of space. Then you get in your 40s and your 50s, 60s. So you want someone who will be able to kind of move and change with you, grow with you as you're growing. Because if someone is consistently like that, it may not necessarily gel up with how you are when you begin to change and evolve. And I like to tell people, women kind of choose men according to the level of self esteem that they're at the time. So generally, that's why you see relationships kind of change or kind of end, especially when it comes for women. Women see themselves as like, oh, okay, when I met this gentleman, he was these qualities for me. But now that I've grown and developed and all of these other things, he's still those things, but he hasn't grown. And so
Mm-hmm.
what you'll see is that women continue to grow and further themselves, but you also want to make sure that you have a mate that is able to do that as well. And I think that that's so imperative in terms of longevity of you, yourself, how you develop and grow, and your spouse, potential spouse.
Hey, uh-oh. Hey, so, one of the things I think about, just for myself, just growing up, we talk about finding a mate. First, I want to make sure we're clear. When we say finding a mate, we're definitely talking about marriage. I know a lot of times when some people say finding a mate, it may not necessarily be that. And of course, as Muslim, we have it instilled in us that when you are talking to a potential mate for marriage, that should be the intention. So, a lot of times that question comes, well, what are your intentions? And so when we're young, that's that thing we hear from our parents, like, and so I would say even for me, at 18, when I met my first husband, I knew in my mind, there were other people that you meet before that, when you're seriously looking at, not even just seriously, but just looking at someone, period, and wanting to talk to them, there's like certain things. But when you're young, as you were speaking, Naima, it's like kind of different, when I look at that 18-year-old Nefertari versus the
Mhm.
50-year-old Nefertari, or even, in the 30s and the 40s, it's like, things definitely begin to, they get to be different, as you mature in life, you get different, you become stronger. And that was one of the things I would say in my first marriage that I could see. Actually, sometimes you can't see these things, but I could actually foresee certain things. And so I would kind of speak on it. And so when you have two individuals who are growing, or one growing faster than the other, it kind of creates this thing, where you begin to have this separation between you, like, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so definitely, just asking yourself on why you're getting married. I could see, when I was younger, my thing is like, oh, it's just because it's that thing you're supposed to do. Whereas later in life, when it's like, why am I getting married? Or, what am I looking for in a spouse? It's like totally kind of different, and I always did look at it as being a form of, being half of my deen, and so looking at it from, being something that's pleasing to Allah, it's like, you feel like this is definitely something that you're supposed to be doing. And you want to make sure that whoever that person is that you're with is helping you to live your life that is pleasing to Allah. And so that you get to that other place, that other side, and be happy with that. So that's one of the things that kind of come to mind for me. But definitely just being able to find that mate, or looking at certain things in your own self, as you get older, it definitely changes. I can testify to that.
And last thing, just making sure that the audience understands that Deen is kind of what we call religion. So when we say
Yes.
half of our religion is really what we're speaking of and connotating to.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and so the next piece of advice is they say to get someone to help. And this I feel like is very, very important because, when we were, I won't say we, but I'll say our parents, like when our parents were coming up, there was a nice, strong, close knit community, so you knew, your neighbors, you knew, people in the community, and you could recommend, my daughter might be good for your son, or my nephew is looking for someone. So there was that kind of conversation going on, and people were actually helping. There was this real community, support, and this community desire to see everyone, matched up or booed up, right? So I feel like nowadays, there's that. I have to refer back to the want for your brother what you want for yourself, want for your sister what you want for yourself. So, we have to, kind of be looking out for our brothers and our sisters. When of a brother who has a very good character, and a sister who does as well, why not just mention it? And I know a lot of times people kind of stay out of it because we know people tend to get called picky. She's so picky, and I've mentioned this one brother to her, and she completely just blew off the idea. So it's kind of like, I just mind my own business, right? But when it comes to something so important like marriage, is an institution that is so beneficial to the community. When people are married, it improves their quality of life. It improves their productivity as well. Husbands and wives are able to be more productive as a team. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? So what do you ladies think is, what are some of the ways that we can either extend a hand to help out some of our single brothers or sisters, or what are some ways that we can, what are some ways that we can get help on finding a mate?
I think there are a lot of ways, but one thing that I think in particular is like people who've been married before, their ex spouse, seeing that person for seeing the best qualities in that person, because we all know that we all have faults, even individually. But if you know that there are some great qualities that your ex spouse even has, um, it's okay to recommend your ex spouse to someone else, right? And I think that we have kind of like this taboo. I know a lot of women probably shrieking right now, but there's a taboo that like, oh, you can't, and my friends, better not marry my ex-husband, or my friends better not be thinking about my own husband, right? In Islam, being able to marry more than one woman, or, no one that I know better not marry my ex-husband, or and it's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like this ownership that everyone kind of takes and
Mm-hmm.
has, that kind of needs to kind of just be like, you know what, just chill on
Right.
that. Because
Right.
even during the time, back in the day, not even just Islamically, but just people in general, marriage a long time ago, people would be like, okay, you know what, she didn't work for me, but people would recommend that specific person to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like, I hate you, or you make me sick, or I can't believe, but just kind of clearing out the heart and the space for us to have more of a communal and a more community sense, that if this person isn't great for me, I think that it'll help somebody else, but they may be great for someone else. And, I'd like to make that recommendation. And then when you make the recommendation, then don't go and stab the person
Mm-hmm.
by telling them all the negative qualities. But, sometimes how a person is with you does not mean that they're going to be
Mm-hmm.
that way with someone else. So
Absolutely.
someone else's better side may bring a better side out, even from your ex. Or even from another brother that so that's why it's kind of important that we, even as women and men, we just are careful and sensitive to one another on how we have evolved. Like, you can't keep telling the same story of this brother or sister from 5-10 years ago. Hopefully they've grown, and even if they haven't, maybe there will still be a different person with someone else. And so that's something I think about in terms of community.
Absolutely. And so that, also kind of ties in with when you are, talking to someone for the purpose of marriage or dating someone, do you ask for references? Like a lot of times I think we're kind of shy to do that, but sometimes you do want to know, about the person's family. My grandmother always told me, how does he treat his mother? You can really tell a lot by a man and how he will deal with his wife based on how he treats his mother.
Mhm.
So you really want to get to know this person, so that was the other piece of advice, was to ask for references. Ladies, are you all comfortable in asking for references when you're talking to someone?
Definitely. I think that is hugely important, asking for references. In fact, just in my circle or people that I know, it's like, and I even know like with families, it's like put the APB out, like, start looking them up online, asking questions to everybody, people in the community. Um, but there was a saying that Imam Fahim Shuaib said years ago that stuck with me, and it's kind of a little bit different, but it's on the other side. It's like if you want to know about a man, ask his wife. So if you're not married yet and you want to know about this man, you have to ask other people who are closer to him. So like, Naima mentioned the family, siblings, whomever, because sometimes what can happen is that you're finding out all these goody things and getting all these nuggets about a person, but you're not getting the true, down to the surface everything. And so I think it's good that you can have someone, a sister mentions, some good qualities about her husband or ex-husband, and other people like say that, but then you also have to make sure that you're being very real about certain other specifics that maybe if they're, even though people do change, there's certain things that you may want to mention, and then, make sure you put all the other good stuff in there too, because what can happen, and I've seen it, happen before with people that I know that, you know, they can find out about it on the other side where it's too late. And so I think that that's something definitely important. So whereas we should definitely be that community and share in helping one another in that aspect, we have to make sure we keep it real too, because a lot of times on the front end, things are always so happy and goey, and how relationships can be in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, a lot of times people say after you got married, now, ooh, what happened?
Who's that? Who's this
Yeah.
person?
And of course it's different, when you're dating a person, just going out to eat or, sitting with their family or doing whatever, versus when you actually are together now, when you're married now, and you're living with each other, that's like a whole nother ball game, just learning. So it's like, it was a movie that I watched yesterday, and it was, the girl went to the guy's house, and he's a doctor. And so when she went, she was like, oh my gosh, she's calling her friends, like everything was like immaculate. Everything was in place. And he's a surgeon. And he's just like got everything. And his books are all in a certain kind of order. And so it scared her to death, because she's like, I can't be that woman. And so when she kind of shied away from him, then he ended up going to her place. And she's like, this is me. Her place was like trashed. Stuff was everywhere. So these are the things that, you got to have these kind of conversations on the front end about what's what. And then the person can choose, like, I'm okay with that, or I can help you with that. Because sometimes when we come together as couples, we're not going to be the same. It's like, you heard the expression opposites attract, but we can help each other through whatever. And then sometimes we just have to you just have to figure out, is this something that I can live with? I know she's going to be really junky and I'm a neat freak, and so can I, because it could be a day where, it's just that toothbrush or that toothpaste top is off, or toothpaste is all over the place, and it just like really works your nerves that day, So you have to figure out if that's something that you can do, you can live with. So it's kind of funny.
Absolutely. Yeah. It reminds me,
So
I don't know if you all
definitely
have ever
going back
seen
to
you've ever seen the show Married at First Sight.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I'm embarrassed to say that I did watch that show, but it was
I
really
was, I was,
good.
I was
I
curious to
enjoyed it because
I
you
still
have like these experts, huh?
I still watch that show.
Yeah, I think it's really good because you have these experts that go, and that's one of the things they did, Neff, is they would when they're getting to know the couples, or no, getting to know the individuals, they go to their house and they're looking around. I mean, they look all through your house. They're looking around to see how you keep your space, because that helps them be able to match you with the right person. Like if you're a complete neat freak, then they don't want to put you with somebody who's super messy, because that's going to constantly be an issue. Why'd you leave this here? It is going to be a real issue. So that is one of the things that they did. That's what it made me think about when you said that. Yeah. So moving on to the next one is this one I'm going to mention. When you meet, try not to be alone. And this is speaking to those people who are, aiming to be, aiming to do the right thing, and to, keep their relationship clean. This advice, and I give this to my children, because my boys are now starting to want to, have relationships. One is considering marriage. So I tell them, you just guard yourself, right? As Muslims and as religious people, we want to guard ourselves, guard our piety. So, you want to, try and meet in open spaces, public spaces,
Mhm.
not just to, in addition to guarding yourself, you're also protecting yourself because you don't know who you're meeting. A lot of us are, on these online dating websites, and we don't know who these people are, what their background is, what their motive is. So you always
Mhm.
want to meet in a public place, I think most of us kind of know that, but just basically try to guard yourself, try not to be alone with the individual. You don't want to slip up or mess around. And I've been watching a little Lifetime. I just discovered TV. Basically, I didn't have cable for several years, so I'm watching all these movies. I'm like, that happens seriously? Yes, I'm that person. But anyway,
These days, Dia, these days, we used to have to worry about our women, our girls so much, but these days you really, because I've got 6 boys, and I'm like,
mhm,
and I know when I was coming up, my parents more so they, you guard the girls more than the boys,
mhm,
but it's like as time has gone on, it's like, okay, you got to watch out for them too. Because you, like you
absolutely.
said, you don't know what you're looking at. I remember one of my sons some years ago, he's married now, but he met this girl online and wanted to go visit her. I'm like, you don't know what you're running into. Like, it could
Mhm,
very well not even be a girl. Like,
mhm. Right, and the
and so
girls
you
are
just
now
never
very
know. And it's all the
aggressive.
way in another state. And I'm like,
Right.
you really, that's definitely one of those things you have to be very careful of and not being alone. So it's like you're going to go meet somebody in another state. You never met them before. Like, just take a partner with you. You kind of make it a good trip,
Mhm.
nice trip, somebody. And then make
Yes.
sure you're like, letting people know that you are going and where you're staying and, and
Mhm.
be, communicate often, so that it's like, okay,
Mhm.
I've heard from so and so in 8 hours, and I've been calling or talking or whatever. Not even just as a mother, but your girlfriends, your whoever, family members. So it's definitely something that's important.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. So the last one is, and you all can kind of tell me, I'm going to put this one out here. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but this one says when you speak, be businesslike and just be straight to the point. Like, and I will say that for me, so I am single and I have started to consider individuals for marriage. And I, like have my few questions that I ask in the very beginning just to determine that compatibility. And then if it's not there, it's good to meet you, hope the best for you, hope you find who you're looking for, and kind of keep it short. Because a lot of times what happens is you get into the relationship, you start talking to this person and then you start, developing feelings. Oh, they're cool. But there's like three strikes, right? There's like what you're looking for, again, going back to those intentions, your intentions for marriage, what you're looking for in a mate, and they really don't have it, but the conversation is really good, so you end up having this conversation, and then it's like, oh, now what, we've developed some feelings. So kind of, get in, see if it's a good mate, and then kind of hop out is my motto. Nafisa.
Yeah. Definitely on that. I try to definitely be businesslike. When I meet someone, again, I have my little checklist because my thing is not trying to waste your time, and I'm not trying to waste my time, right? And we're not trying to fool each other, and because my thing is you're gonna like me. I mean, we just gonna like each other. I haven't been on a bad date. You know what I mean? I always have a good time on my dates, but just because we like each other, that don't mean that we're moving in the same direction,
Mhm.
right? So I'm always business like with my first few questions or whatever that I have, and I have my three strike system. I have my three strike
You have to.
system as well,
Mhm.
and I think that's really good to kind of get that out the way so you're not getting emotionally wrapped up in a
Mhm.
situation
Right.
that you know, it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? You meet somebody and they have a 10-year-old, and then they start talking about they think they might want to have some more kids. Well,
Mhm.
that's not gonna work because this shop is closed.
Mhm.
Okay, so we can like each other all day long. I'm not
Yeah,
compromising, and
definitely.
I'm not gonna marry somebody who or date someone who still has that as a question mark, right?
Mhm.
Because then that goes to my self esteem. Oh, back in my mind, that's something I got to be thinking about now. Oh, what he said he didn't. He said he did, but nah, we together, and nah, he said it don't matter. Yeah, no, that's that you striking out at the top.
Well, Nafisa, as I listen to that, one of the things, like, we go back to age, like if you're really young versus 30 or 40-year-old, I think it still kind of stays in place, but it turns a little bit different, when you're more experienced. But in Islam, that's what the wali is for, you know, being able to have that person to go to. We talk about community, and this is my daughter or my son, and we try to like match people up and that kind of thing. But when you do have, most of the time, for a gentleman, a guy, they want to go to the girl's father, or if she doesn't have a father, someone that's, what we call a wali, someone who is in her taking leadership of her best interest. And so a lot of times that will kind of like solve some of that, where you don't necessarily have to go on that first date to figure out some of these things. But I know as we get a little older, we kind of do things a little differently. And so those things are definitely good to have in place. Have your set of questions to ask, so that like, you don't want to waste your time, you don't want to waste their time, kind of thing. But I would definitely recommend, as much as possible, using that system where you can have a wale, so that you don't find yourself in situations. Because sometimes, like we say, you know, a guy can be like, he can say all kind of stuff to you, but when they talking to a man, it's like men can see through certain stuff,
Mm.
that they know they got to come with it and be for real about whatever, and they know, no, not that one, or yeah, he's cool, we can move forward. And then it's still going to be up to that young lady to say whether she's wants to move forward or not. But just to get through that barrier of the bull crap, that's important. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that can definitely wean them out. So, yeah. So as we move on, so those are the tips for actually finding a mate, and of course, you could add to that. Of course, there's online dating now that's very, very popular, and it just gives you that connection, because you never know, your mate might actually be in another state. Your mate might be, in another country, so you never know. So the World Wide Web, kind of allows us to meet individuals from different places. So that's very, 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 a very unique tool that we have in this day and age. So to bring full circle to the conversation that we're having about finding your mate, finding yourself, I like to kind of go into, the process. Like, ladies, there's a process. Like, sometimes, and it's an ongoing process. So when you're new to marriage, like you have never been married before, you still need to find yourself, try to dig in deep, go and do the internal work to find out, who am I, what do I like, who's going to compliment me in my life, what kind of things am I trying to achieve in my life. That's extremely important, to find yourself. And then, as we grow, and we start to have relationships, and we start to, collect baggage, right? Bag lady, you want to really, do some inner work again, kind of clear that baggage out, so that when you go into the next relationship, you're not bringing that, in with you. You're not looking at the next, mate, like he's going to do the same thing the last brother did. So, and sister did. I really want to make this point, that, sisters, our brothers have hearts too. Our brothers have feelings too. Women are not the only ones with feelings. This world tells us that women are emotional, men are hard and masculine, but men have feelings too. Okay. And a lot of times, we step on them, we disregard them. Please understand that men have been in relationships, men have been hurt in relationships too. So just as you're coming with your issues, your baggage, your insecurities, they also are coming with a set just the same. And neither is more important than the other. Okay. So really, I just wanted to really speak to that. Let's be more kind and more caring to our brothers and to their feelings, because they are within themselves trying to heal. They're going through a healing process. I think that's a whole nother show. I'm going to recommend that as a show. Black Brothers Heal. That's going to be my next show, next season. Y'all stay tuned. Okay. Um, Nafisa, all of you are unmuted. Uh, Go ahead, come on, bring it in. Bring
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to give an alternative framework too for looking at this. I've been divorced 5 years, and I probably, even though I'm older than 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 my co-host, I probably dated more than all three of them put together over my lifetime. Not just since I've been divorced, just because
Mhm.
I was not, you know. So anyway, so I probably dated a lot, and what, and my framework for looking at it is just lessons, right? So which each, that's why I say, I loved every boyfriend, every man, and I've been in a relationship with. I've loved them. I still love them, right? It's different types of love, and with each one, there was just lessons. There was just lessons that needed to be learned. And if you don't learn the lessons, of course, you keep repeating the same ones. It's just you just with a different mate. So we want to say that, but they're just lessons. And I approach when I'm looking for a mate. The questions that I ask them is about those lessons that they've learned through their relationships and how they dealt with them. Because I'm trying to get into how they think and how they problem solve and how they reflect, because that's going to tell me a lot about their problem solving abilities in our relationship, right? So I just wanted to give a different framework for saying that, because I think sometimes we're so hard on ourselves. We're so hard on ourselves for different things that didn't go right in our life and relationships, that we're sometimes, and if you just say, you know what, that was just a lesson. How much lighter is that? It was just a lesson. I reflect on it. This is why the lesson happened, and this is how I'm gonna deal with it different if it shows up. That's so much lighter on us because we're so hard on ourselves, and we're so hard on the men in our lives, whether past, present, or future. But it's all just about lessons. So I just wanted to offer that up as a different perspective.
Yes, thank you for that offering. Love it. Lessons, learn the lessons. Like, don't let, God has a way of bringing that same lesson to you until you learn it. So learn it, and move on from it so it doesn't keep happening over and over again, right? So, finding yourself. So, one of again, another article that I'm going into, and this is the steps on finding yourself. And we're going to just kind of, you know, move around and, discuss it. And the first thing is it says, stop looking for your soulmate and find the missing parts of you. I think this could mean something different for each of us, but for me, I think a lot of times, we admire qualities in other people that we want to have ourselves, right? So if we want to be, punctual, we look for those qualities in a mate. Oh, he's always on time. I like that, or if we want to be, very studious, then we look for those qualities in a mate. Oh, he's studious. I like that. He can help bring that into my life. So this piece of advice is kind of what I think about is where instead you're making sure that you're developing those qualities that you like within yourself. If you like someone who's studious and you're studious, then at some point you guys are going to meet in a study group, right? If you like someone who's business minded, and you develop those qualities, or you do, you become, business minded, you guys are going to meet up at that networking event, right? So I think it's about, we admire qualities in other people a lot of times that we want to exhibit ourselves. So, it's kind of about, just finding out, is this something that I'm looking for in a mate, or is this something that I'm looking for in myself? And can I develop those qualities within myself? So that's the way that I took it. The second one is to live your life as you want to live it. There again, when you are living, don't wait till a lot of times we say, when I get married, I'm gonna travel the world. When I get married, I'm gonna buy that house. Don't wait. Travel the world, buy that house, live your life now, live your life how you want to live it, so that this way you're more likely to there again find that mate on that path. If you're on the path of like I said, studying, if you're on the path of, volunteering, then a lot of times when you're in those spaces, you're going to find that mate. All right. So,
Daia, one of the other things I want to mention with that, like you said, live your life, and don't necessarily wait for that mate. I want to speak to the other side of that too. A lot of times people feel like they need to get so many things done before finding their mate. And I would encourage that, live your life and do those things, but also don't let that hold you back from finding a mate. You never know, because sometimes we can block our own blessings and not realize it because we have our own vision and view of how we see things. But we have to just make sure that we're allowing God to guide us and in our movement, in our pathway, so that, because sometimes some of those things that you may not necessarily get done before you find a mate, when you're talking to your mate, potential mate, and letting them know about, what your dreams are, what your passions are, what your visions and your goals are in life, that you all will be able to share those things. So just kind of wanted to put that out there.
And also thinking about when you're saying live your life the way you want to, like when you're seeking a mate and then you're going into a relationship, that's something that you need to think about that is more parallel. So I think when people kind of get, you know, and really I want to say women, because we're a little bit more, we have, we kind of go for our dreams harder. I hate to say it that way, but we do. So like we're always like, you'll see women traveling all the time. You'll see women doing whatever they want to do without anything stopping them. And so that is okay, but just trying to make sure that there's some parallel when you are getting into a relationship. Because what can happen is you'll continue to grow, but that person won't. And then you're going to find yourself like, oh, I've traveled, 27 countries and, been to all 50 states, and this person's been to 2 states. And you're like, well, your perspective or that individual's perspectives won't change because they haven't experienced life the same way that you have. And so that's something to think about in terms of like living your life, yeah, you only live once and all these other things, but not living it in a way where it's selfish. There's a difference between it being selfish and then there's selflessness where you're in a relationship. So just kind of thinking about those two separate things also when you're trying to find yourself and finding a mate.
Right. And I would say that especially for those who are doing it second, third time around, or just in midlife. I'm just saying midlife, who've been married previously or had long-term relationships previously. I think it's very important as we evaluate, the next part of our life, and we're thinking about what type of mate we want to have and what type of life we want to live. And I think this is something that I've always kind of been about, but I really tried to evolve it. And this year, I had to make the switch for 2021 because for 5 years I've been dating, and it just hasn't worked out yet. But that's okay because I just been piling up the lessons, right? I've been piling up the lessons. But in 2021, I made the switch, right? And when I say I made the switch, I mean I made the switch from, out here dating, looking for a mate, making sure I had my plan together, my schedule. I'm on this website, I'm on this website. I'm talking to people. Oh, have you found a husband for me yet? All this stuff. So for 2021, I just gave all that up, right? And I made the switch to focus on um, finances and becoming. I'm trying to get my Khadija on for those Muslims. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Basically, just meaning that you're building your business empire. So I made the switch to focus on that, and because I feel like if Allah takes me, if I die, I've already been married. I'm not gonna be sitting on my deathbed like, ooh man, I didn't accomplish that. But if I don't build a business empire because I'm sitting up here waiting for him to show up, then I'm gonna be mad at myself. I'm gonna have some regrets. So since I've already been married before, you know, so I'm out here trying to build and live the life that I want and hope that he shows up along the way. So I'm just encouraging my ladies to do that as well, which I think all of us have really said. we just kind of said it in our own way. Yeah.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. And
Thank you.
while Nafisa is working on her Khadijah, right? And because Nafisa is my sister, I'm gonna back her up by saying she is looking for her Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, meaning
Mm.
that you are coming to the stage, bruh, on point, right? Not that you coming on the stage that she's your Khadijah and you living off of her. Okay, let's just make sure that point is corrected in this segment while we finding the mate and finding yourself. Don't be finding my girl to get your money up. Okay.
Okay, real talk. I love it. I love it. And I think everybody kind of goes through their own stages, like, because when I first got divorced, I think I went through a stage of just kind of wanting to just chill, just be in my space, with myself. I realized that I got married when I was 19. And so I had been married for all of my adult life, basically. So I said, I've never really, yeah, right. I've never really been by myself. Let me try this out. Let me live in this space. So everybody kind of goes through their stages and just feel what's right for you. What is your heart telling you that it needs right now? Does your heart need some time? Or is your heart ready to open up and receive? So it just depends on really what your heart is wanting is wanting right now. And I always tell people, when they lose something, I can't find my keys, I can't find my watch, I lost my earrings. Stop looking for it, and that's when you're gonna find it, right? So I love what Nafisa is doing. It's like, okay, you know what, I've been putting a lot of energy and focus there, and that's not what, where Allah wants me to be right now. So let me shift. Let me kind of pivot a little bit. Let me put this work in here, and I guarantee, I already know I'm gonna be getting a wedding invitation soon. I already know it, because that's how it works. That brother gonna be right there on that path, what I'm saying, scooping her up. So inshallah, we pray. So God willing, may God bless us all with beautiful spouses, and may God enrich our marriages. So
Amen.
I mean, amen. Going on to the next one. I know we kind of getting we going long, but that's what love does to you, right? Love doesn't know anything about time. Love has no sense of time, as we can see. So the next one is, if you're I think I already talked. Oh, look, I already talked about that. If you're attracted to particular qualities in someone else, find or develop those qualities in yourself. I was just, I think I read
Girl,
that
you
already.
on it. You on it.
Yeah,
Yes, that
see,
part.
you're already speaking to me.
And then don't ask
Um,
of other people that which you can't, give of yourself. Like, don't ask for
mm,
someone to be honest and you're not honest. Don't ask for
mm-hmm,
someone to be trustworthy and you're not trustworthy. So I think that that's something that we also need to kind of that takes inner reflection. So sometimes people don't want to hold themselves accountable and hold themselves to the carpet because, God forbid, you actually are human and you actually make mistakes. And it's okay. That's what's going to make you a better mate also, being able to kind of reflect, see that you have some deficiencies, but growing on those deficiencies. And so, yeah, just making sure that you're asking whatever you're asking the other person to do, you yourself can do that also. So don't, I want you to, be my all in all, but I don't want to be your all in all. So just thinking
right,
about that.
right, right.
Or I want you to be looking all nice and slim, but I'm still down in all these pork chops. I'm still down in two liters every morning and every night, and
Right.
and I'm still sitting over here with my belly and barely can go around the block. But I want you to be in tip top shape, because you got to be looking on point.
Right.
No.
You can be
Right.
my trophy, but I don't want to be yours.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so bring to the relationship what you want in the relationship. That's what I'm hearing you ladies say. So this next one is, engage with life and accept the gifts that are offered to you. So I think there again, this is just saying that, just again, be open to, um, when you meet someone, it may not be meeting them for marriage. You may just meet someone somewhere, and be open to, to having that heart, that soul connection or that soul conversation. You never know who you may meet, along in your life, that, just kind of comes there, and just be open and willing to build, and connect with souls, female souls, male souls. Just be willing to be open and let your. Sometimes you meet a sister, right? A sister may, meet another sister at the masjid, and then they may develop a friendship, and then who knows? Maybe her brother is looking for someone. So just be open. I say just have an open mind and be open to receive, however, Allah decides to bring, that person into your life. Be open. So engage with life and accept those gifts, of people who come into your life, and just, be open to that.
And the thing too, I want to say too, is that you want to be open and let the relationship unfold, but you also want to make sure that you make your intention. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes we, particularly as Muslim women, or maybe people that haven't been married in a while, if it's been a while, we feel this sense of urgency to
Mm.
kind of like make it happen. Of course, you want to make sure that your intentions are clear. Like this is about us, leading to possible marriage. And if at any point that doesn't mean, I got to be on this. Okay, we on 2 months now. What's going on? I gotta. What date we getting married? That I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it's
Mhm.
clear up front so that the person knows. Oh, you in a relationship because you want to get married, not because I'm in a relationship because I just want to kick it. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So you got to have that balance, and long as you set that intention up front, you don't have to keep reminding or trying to force it to happen. So that's what I think you're saying. That just want to make sure that people know that you want to maintain that balance because you don't want to just be like, oh, we're just gonna see where things go. I get a lot of guys doing that. Oh, we're just
Mhm.
gonna see where it go. Okay, well, I'm gonna
Mhm.
tell you where this is where I'm trying to go. Right. I'm not saying we gotta be there next month, 3 months, whatever. I don't know what the time is, but that's
Right.
where I'm trying to go. If that's something that's clearly not in your path, then let's not start down this path. So you just gotta have that
Mm.
balance, I think,
Mhm. Mhm.
between that.
I also
Yeah,
think that,
absolutely.
at all of these tips that we kind of talked about today, these are tips that continue inside of the relationship. So even though you're married to somebody and you feel like you got the prize or whatever, um, continue to think and to look at what qualities am I still looking for in this person now that we are married. Let me try to see if I can cultivate better qualities in this person, and vice versa. Can they cultivate better qualities in me? Once now that you're in the relationship, let's just take our time being in the relationship. We don't have to be okay. I'm going to fall in love with you in 4 years, 2 years, 6 months, or whatever. But just thinking of like if you're really looking to be in that relationship for a long period of time, that it's going to take some work. It's going to take some time. You're not going to be where you want to be in the beginning sometimes, but as long as you're willing to put the time investment in, you're continuing to seek out the best of that relationship, the best of yourself, the best of that individual person. I think that you'll always find that in the end you'll get an even greater prize. But just thinking about all of these tips and using them for the future, even after you find your mate and yourself.
Beautiful. That was a beautiful conclusion, Naima. Because that was the last tip that we had was, not to hurry things along, like Nafisa said, to just, once you are, have someone that you're talking to and you're in a comfortable space, let the relationship evolve, so that you can be certain that, this is the person that, you feel like you can enter into this very, very beautiful, beneficial relationship, you know. So, and I guess just always be true, be truthful, and just be the real you. Don't show up. One brother mentioned that, when you get to talking to someone, you meet their representative first. And then, months down the line, or sometimes if for some of us, when we marry them, then the real person comes out. It's like, who are you? And even on simple things, even on, like when you're, because, everybody, and it's natural, everybody wants to put their best foot forward. Everybody wants to present themselves in a positive light, but if you really don't like to travel, Don't say, yeah, I want to travel the world with you, baby. If you really, 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 prefer home cooked meals, don't say, yeah, we can go eat out. I'm a wine and dine you. So, just be real and just be true so that you're not presenting something that you're not going to actually deliver, because that's when issues, present in a marriage, when you marry that person thinking that you're going to do A, B, C, and D. And then, they just still sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
So
AKA, let me know.
that's not, yeah, that's not
And
happy.
also, before we go out, I know that we also had a small aspect of talking about online dating, but we just want to make sure that everybody knows that all of these tips are for online dating as well. Of course, we're still going through the pandemic, but just, making sure that all the tips that we talked about, you're using those same tips to be cautious with online dating. And when you're doing online dating, it's very, very, very important to do your investigative work, even more so than if
Mhm.
you were seeing someone in person, because everybody knows that, as they say, the internet is everyone's alter ego, right? So
Mhm.
you think you're not meeting someone in person, you're really not meeting them online. They have this
Right.
whole Facebook account, Instagram account. That car is not their car. They were at dealership. Or, that's not their house. They were at an Airbnb. You know what I'm saying? So, like, just really understanding all of the real aspects of people, individuals, seeking them out. And when we say investigative work, I know brothers kind of go into, like, sisters be like FBI agents, right? But it's
Mhm.
for safety. It's not
Right.
to demonize or destroy your character. It's for her own safety and livelihood, for her life, and if she has children, for her children's lives. You know what I'm saying? So just being respectful of that is important. Like, okay, you know what, sis? Yeah, give her some kudos that she looked out and tried to figure out who you are, instead of just accepting you as you are and then going through a whole relationship, and then it ends up in a fireball because she
Right.
didn't do that. You'd rather be in a safer relationship where she can trust even the misdeeds that you've done. She can accept them and trust them, and move forward. So just kind of thinking about that. So kudos to you all with online dating. I was telling the group before, I've never dated before. I know if you've never. So Nafisa is my dating queen. It's like when Nafisa has a date, girl, what happened? You know what I'm saying? But I personally have never dated before, and I'm almost 49 years old, and I have my first marriage was 16 years, and this current marriage is 11. So you can imagine, half of my life I've been married, and as
Yes.
Daya was saying earlier, I never had a break between those. There was a break, but it wasn't like, it was like, oh, let me find myself. I was just like, okay, well, alhamdulillah,
So,
mashallah.
so that's why you travel all the time, huh? That's your break. Let me go to Morocco for 3 weeks.
Right?
There you go.
So, just understanding everybody has a different lifestyle and perspective, but
Yes, yes,
alhamdulillah.
yes. But that's a blessing too, because the dating scene is tough, Naima. So that's truly a blessing. Date your husband now. You all take, go do the DWM, dating while married. Yay. So we're going to close out Crown Nation with this episode of Rock the Crown, finding a mate, finding yourself. I pray that everyone, finds the mate and the love of their life, and I pray that everyone, becomes the love of their life first and foremost. So like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Instagram. We want to hear it from you. We want to hear from you. Put some comments in the comment section. Reach out. We're here. We're just a phone call away. We're just a text away. Okay. Thank you, Crown Nation.
Thank you.
Salam.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace.